continue our conversation here with our political commentator for CNN and Republican pollster, Kristin Solis Anderson, also former Trump administration official Matt Mowers, and host of Can We Please Talk podcast, Mike Leon. I always make sure that's very like, can we talk for a second? Can we please talk? Let me begin with this, though, because just thinking about who shows up, which type of candidate. Obviously, everyone's going to be watching this debate and thinking different things. It's kind of an ink blot Rorschach test for people. But I wonder, from your perspective, what do you think voters will be most watching for? Is it substantive, or is it the idea of, I want to know how they perform with one another?
I think it's both. By the way, the way you framed the question is the first thing I'm looking for. The way Jake and Dana frame questions to them is the biggest thing that I'm looking for. But from a voter's
perspective, why is that?
Well, because, so for example, why would we ask him if he's going to accept the results of the 2024 election? He hasn't accepted the 2020. He hasn't accepted the 2016. It's not rigged and stolen. You know how I know? Because he's participating in it again. You don't participate in something that's already rigged and stolen that you've felt you've been cheated on. So back to the voter thing, though, for a second. I think voters, and Kristin could speak to this a little bit better, they're looking at single issues, right? The war in Gaza, right? The money that's being spent by the U.S. on that. The economic issues, right, that we've talked about. Consumer goods are up year over year. Those are just numbers. It's math stuff. So how do these guys speak about that? The problem is, the underlying issue is, we have this new format of muting microphones and being able to hear people back talk, and maybe that sidetracks a candidate to talk about something else. Does that take away the focal point of a policy discussion, which we all agree we want that? Are we going to get that? Who knows? Well,
do voters, want those policy issues, or do they, you have to wonder sometimes. You're a pollster, you know this quite well. Both of you know this area, all of you really. But what do you think the voters are most looking for out of a presidential debate? Keep in mind, this is the earliest one we've ever had, really.
So it sounds nice to say, hey, these candidates need to come with their 10-point plan to fix the economy. And if I went out and did a poll and I asked voters, what do you want to hear from candidates? People would probably say, I'd like to hear them have a substantive discussion on the issues. But the reality is, this is going to be a spectacle. People are going to tune in to figure out, what does it look like when these two men, now 4 years older than they were the last time they did this, stand on a stage next to each other? I don't think that it's likely that either of these candidates wins the debate on substance. But I do think that there are substantive ways these candidates can lose the debate. So take Donald Trump, for instance. If he gets asked a question, as I'm sure he will be, on an issue like abortion, he cannot survive giving an answer that says, well, I don't really have a position. We're coming up with the policy. It's going to be great.
Well, I'll tell you next week.
I'll tell you next week. That's what he did recently on an issue like birth control. You can't do that. This is an issue that is very important to a lot of voters, and they want clarity on it. And so there are ways that substantively these candidates can say something that sounds wishy-washy, is a non-answer, and that can create a bad moment for them, much more so than I think anyone is going to dazzle the public with some great substantive response to a policy.
Well, I do wonder then, in that respect, is this, listen to what Trump has been saying about preparing for this debate. If maybe he's aware of that notion and the spectacle aspect of it. Listen to how he says he's, prepping.
How are you preparing? I'm preparing by taking questions from you and others, if you think about it. But I'm preparing by dealing with you. You're tougher than all of them.
I'm dealing with you. That's what I'm getting ready to do. Is that really enough?
Oh, look, I've got a confession to make. I played 18 holes of golf today for the first time in over 5 years, and I sucked on the course. You know why? I didn't practice. I haven't been out there in 5 years actually doing anything. Every single shot was awful. And so it is important for them to get practice. He's not wrong. Donald Trump is always prepared for debates this way. I remember back in 2016, some of the campaign were scheduling town hall style meetings for him just in advance of the debate with Hillary Clinton. He was very keen on making sure there weren't flashing lights, there weren't cue cards, there weren't, pre-planned questions. He wanted a flat-out town hall because he's also a little superstitious. If you over-prepare sometimes, you kind of lose that type of what he values is one of his greatest strengths, which is his instinct. This is a guy who really prioritized having an open schedule when he was running the Trump companies, the Trump operation, in part because he wanted that flexibility. He wanted to be able to change based upon instinct during the day. He does goes the same way into a debate setting, obviously very different from what President Biden's doing right now, hunkered down in Camp David, preparing as many, probably planned lines as he can, and I'm sure the White House is crafting a lot of them. So it'll be very interesting to see, do you take preparation or you take instinct? Because that's what we're going to see on Thursday.
I mean, I wing it every night, so
Okay,
that's what I'm just going to say.
You want to practice. You want to practice, but you don't want to sound rehearsed. And I
Right.
think that would be the biggest message that I would give to President Biden. If he's preparing some lines, make some funny jokes like you just did about playing golf. I'm a 7 handicap, by the way.
No.
But those are the kind of jokes that you make. But like, it has to come off natural. Like there's a certain je ne sais quoi about this, right? That we're all watching for. This is the Super Bowl, kids. Okay. So for those of you out there watching, this is the Super Bowl. You want to learn more about these folks. You're truly independent. You want to hear policy discussion. Watch this and watch how they sound, and can you trust this person for the next 4 years?
And can you tolerate them being in your living room every single day for the next 4 years? And that's the key thing.
Well,
too.
but we already know that voters have kind of said no to both of them.
Right.
And that's where, in some ways, I think that this debate, it has a lot of peril for Donald Trump, obviously. I'm frankly surprised he agreed to it, kind of said, sure, I'll show up wherever, whenever, because right now Trump is slightly ahead in the polls. There's more of a likelihood that this changes the race in a negative direction for him. On the other hand, that spontaneity, I really think that is the one place where Trump has the opportunity to get one up on Biden. Right. If, for instance, Biden does have a moment where he's maybe not his sharpest, not at his best, there's a way Donald Trump can come out, hit that too hard, be mean, be a bully, and turn everyone off. But if he makes some sort of light quip and moves on, there is a way that Donald Trump, I think, still is a little more energetic than Biden, is better at television as an art than Biden. There's a chance that Donald Trump, the Apprentice guy, for instance, shows up.
Well, on that point, though, and you made the point earlier about there are certain topics when it's not going to be enough just to have window dressing on issues. Reproductive rights, one very important one. There are going to be answers that must be given for voters, and there's not the audience to feed off of to have that instant gratification. Am I doing okay? There's no active listeners in the actual moderators. There's not an audience full of people who are going to tell you, I like what you said or I didn't. That's going to be hard to have that vacuum for them. But there was one independent voter that told the Times this, and I want to read it for you all. This is the most apprehensive I've felt about a presidential debate. I sense a disaster in the making where neither will look presidential. I do wonder how acute is that fear for them.
Well, you've got to remember the other piece of this, too, is that you can go in with the best planned strategy. And, I've run for office. I've been in debates. You can go in with everything planned. It's all a human experience at the end of the day. And these are two candidates who hate each other. Like, they make no bones about it. They personally dislike each other. And so as much as I'm sure both of them are going to go in prepared with some persona to some degree, they're eventually human emotion can take over in these debate settings. And we'll see how they react to one each other. But because of that visceral dislike of each other, I think that voters' concerns are going to be confirmed on Thursday.
Can I just piggyback one thing? Because Jeff Duncan said there about the 10% in the middle. It's more like 14, 15%. And you know how I know that? Because RFK, Jill Stein, Cornel West are totaling 14%. And 156 million people voted in 2020. And if you do simple math of 15%, that's 23.5 million people, I think, that are truly feeling independent or politically homeless. That's who you have to really talk to. And that's what that kind of speaks to right there on Thursday, that they're going to be watching for.
And, of course, you've got the voters, the demographic they're trying to capture. Younger voters, will they listen for the full debate? Will they wait for the sound bites to come out? Can you get the full essence of the debate or how they perform if you only have that? You got to watch it. Thank you so much to all of you. I appreciate it. Jake Tapper and Dana Bash.